Hey, this is Matt. Welcome to the part number 2 on Karius and his hair transplant transformation. This is going to be my breakdown. In the second part, I'd like to talk more about his hairline positioning, which many of you guys pointed out in the part number 1, so I decided to make a whole new video about it. We're going to be discussing whether it has been done technically too low or not. Number 2, how to ideally position your hairline for the first time if you're a guy interested in a hair transplant, and what are the 3 aspects that you need to take into consideration first before positioning your new hairline in any way. All right, and then we are going to also talk about what I would have chosen, what type of design and hairline positioning I would have selected if I'd be in his shoes, if I really must have done a hair transplant. As always, make sure you like this video right now if you are enjoying these regular updates on hair loss and hair transplant on my channel. And before we start, this video has been brought to you by GoFiber, which are hair building fibers you can use to mask any thinning or patchy areas on your scalp to make your hair look thicker and better. So make sure you check out the link in the video description below where you can visit GoFiber, get a free sample of your choice and try them out. See if you like them. Hey, welcome back to the channel once again. If you are new and you are interested in keeping your hair, making it look thicker, regrowing your hair and avoiding being the bald guy for life, eventually even getting that new nice hairline back with a hair transplant that can nicely frame your face again, then make sure you subscribe to my channel right now and hit the notification bell, because these are the topics I'm discussing on my channel. For all that, you can also visit my website mattdominance.com, where you can get a free education, my free ebook with 5 things I wished I had known before my hair transplant, or even get my one-on-one help where I can help you out personally with your problem, as well as helping you find the best doctor for your hair transplant. Let's talk about the part number 2. The hairline design of Karius. Many of you guys pointed out it may be too low, maybe not. Yesterday I decided to start a poll on my Instagram and YouTube channel to ask you guys, what do you think about his hairline? Is it too low? Is it looking good or not? And funny enough, by this time of recording the video, 167 people voted for it's a great result, they like it, and 58 people thumbed it down. Now, on my YouTube channel, I was also doing a poll where I was asking whether the hairline positioning is too low or not, as you can see here, and 53% of you guys think it's too low, and about 26% thought it's optimal, and the rest, 21%, didn't really care that much. Now let's talk about his new hairline positioning, guys, and whether it had been done too low. So I was able to find this video, and here it's obvious that this guy lowered his hairline, which we already knew, but from here we can already see how much. It's probably about 2 centimeters. That would be the distance which I would estimate. We can also see that the lowering in the mid-frontal point was less than close to his receding corners. It almost appears as if it was maybe double that size. Up to 2 centimeters right here, and maybe up to 3.5 centimeters right here. That's what I'm seeing. I can also notice that he didn't touch this area, which is amazing, because if you touch it in your mid-20s already with your first hair transplant, that is quite a high risk. That is quite a high risk, even if you think that you will not recede further in the future, because your own belief, your own intuition doesn't really matter that much, okay? Because it can change pretty unexpectedly, all right? All right, and now let's discuss in detail whether this hair transplant resulted in an optimal hairline lowering. Now, how do we find out what is the optimal lowering of your hairline, or optimal point to which you should lower your hairline? Well, first we need to ask ourselves, what is the purpose of lowering the hairline? Now, we have on a physical level, we want to look younger, we want to correct facial symmetry, and on the mental level, we want to get rid of insecurity, which is a mental insecurity, mental preoccupation with a high hairline or having high forehead. And by lowering the hairline, we want to also target that mental side. Because remember, from a different perspective, like a physician's perspective who is doing your surgery, the hairline could be already optimally lowered, by a certain point, but from your perspective, because you have also that mental insecurity, the point may differ from the doctor's point, what is optimal for him. Now the problem starts, I think, when we try to overcorrect and try to lower our hairline, maybe because of insecurity, maybe because we believe it's gonna help with how we feel about our hairline on a mental level, and we try to overcorrect, lower the hairline so much that it's actually not gonna make us any younger. It's actually not gonna help with improving our facial symmetry further. In fact, it can start distorting our facial symmetry, because the more we lower, the more the lower facial thirds will be larger in proportion to the last third, which is going from the glabella to the mid-frontal point. So let me talk about the rule of facial thirds. So there is the rule which says that if your face is symmetrical, and usually models have it almost perfectly, male or female models, they usually have the same distance between the tip of their chin, tip of their nose, compared to the tip of the nose and the point between their eyebrows. About the same distance. That's called the glabella, by the way. And the same distance they also have from the glabella to the mid-frontal point. So if you take a look at famous models, famous, people like TV personalities, they usually have that attractiveness and charisma, and it has something to do with that symmetry, obviously, because we are drawn to symmetry. And if you go way too much, if you try to overcorrect the hairline, you make it too low, you can actually disrupt that natural ratio, which actually could have been already achieved with less grafts, but you went too far because you wanted to correct for that mental insatisfaction with that hairline, and with that you actually sacrificed that symmetry and you overcorrected and started causing distortion to your face. And although he probably did not lower the mid-frontal point, which is this very point in the middle here, you see that widow's peak, that's the mid-frontal point, by the way. Although it seems like he didn't lower his hairline with his surgery lower than he used to have it, but what he did, he shouldn't have, in my opinion, and that actually caused more distortion in his hairline and the facial symmetry, was to lower the hairline also on the corners. What I think the hairline design that Loris Karius should have gone with to maximize his, him looking youngest, maximize the facial symmetry, and also kind of try to minimize that insecurity about his receding hairline, would be this design. Let me explain you why. As you can see here, he decided to kind of frame his hairline like that and fill out that frontal temporal corner in this way, as you can see here. In my opinion, it wasn't the best decision. Why? If you want to maximize the facial aesthetics, not that you should obsess about maximizing your facial aesthetics like to the tip. If you are, obsessing about it already, then obsess the right way. I'm just suggesting that if you want to get the most out of your hairline positioning, you should also look at things like maybe how your nose is shaped, and you want to make your temporal hairline almost parallel with that. So here you can see how it's almost parallel here, and that's creating a great symmetry from the profile, from the right and left. Another thing will be the rule of thirds that I already mentioned. Before, it was something like that. We see that his middle third is slightly more narrow than the first one. The first one is the longest. That means that the last third from the glabella to the mid-frontal point should be in between, should be an average between the lowest and middle third. Look, it's way less than that. That means that by receding more, it actually created a better balance naturally. That means that he actually didn't have to lower that hairline after all. He didn't have to. He lowered it because it used to be pretty low. So he actually lowered it probably to the same point. But again, the problem was that he also lowered it equally on the corners, left and right. He shouldn't have. If he didn't, if he let the corners recede, the facial third, the last one, would be actually in the proportion, in the perfect proportion on the corners. In the middle, it would be maybe too low, but because the corners would be having better proportion, it would improve the overall symmetry. I hope you understand what I mean. It would be more apparent from here, because notice here, we see that the mid-frontal point is way too low for a perfect symmetry to occur. However, if we go to the outer side of his eyebrow and we measure it here, it's almost a perfect symmetry. So that's something that I think he should have done, and also make the hairline that way. Because I think this would have been a great long-term hairline for this guy that would still look great in his 30s, 40s, even 50s. Because again, you want to maximize looking younger, looking like most attractive, maximize the facial aesthetics. You shouldn't distort your facial proportions by lowering it too much and overcorrecting. And you also want to like not waste too many grafts, because by lowering your hairline, every half of a centimeter can require from 400 to 500 grafts if you want to do it dense. So also remember that you're wasting your donor, and you can always lower it later on pretty much if you know that you respond well to medication, your donor is more than average, it still has enough donor follicles to be transplanted in the future, and also your hair loss expectations in the future are maybe not as high because you're also older now and stuff like that. Then you can lower the hairline, but do it in the first surgery. It can have its risk, and he did it because he wanted that. And I think the mental issue or mental preoccupation with him losing these hairs on the corners was so high that he just wanted to have it low, even at the expense of maybe losing some facial aesthetics or facial symmetry with that decision. So yeah guys, sometimes less is more, and I think this photo here, which is again before his surgery, this would be what I would want to achieve if I had been him with the hair transplant. I would like to come to this. You can also play with the beard line and try to improve the symmetry by, you know, growing your beard that way or trimming your beard that way. That all can massively add up to the symmetry. And this is what some of you guys I think commented, where you thought that it actually made him more masculine before hair transplant than after. And I think this is something that you also referred to. If you trim your beard and your nose shape or slope and your temporal hairline shape, if this all kind of slopes in a parallel way, this is what adds to that symmetry and also makes you look masculine, obviously. Compared to how it looks right now, where you can see that he decided to bring that temporal hairline almost straight like that, which is again way more steeper of a slope than his nose, and it just disrupts that symmetry that way, and again creates also a very short distance between the outer part of his eyebrow and the hairline on the you know, close to the frontotemporal corner. So yeah, these are the things that maybe were not the best and you can learn from, and that's why I created this video for you guys, because then you can save your grafts for more important hair restoration on the mid-scalp or crown once it appears in the future, and you know, have less but actually make, you know, look better with less. And this is the proof why you could look actually better with less sometimes. Nonetheless, I think the hair regrowth was pretty good for this hair transplant. It does look very thick in my opinion, no matter if it's shorter or slick back. I do see very low see-through effect for a first surgery, for a first transplant. I think it's a success if we take a look at it this way. So you can definitely evaluate this transplant from different aspects, but of course from the aspect of hairline positioning was not probably the most ideal in terms of maximizing the things that I discussed. And with that being said, thank you so much for watching. I hope I didn't forget about anything important in this second part. If I did, make sure you comment below. Check out my website, mattdominance.com, where you can get my free ebook 5 things I wished I had known before my hair transplant that can set you up for a successful research. You will know what to look for in a great hair transplant physician and how to get your hair transplant while avoiding all the pitfalls that many guys can fall into during their research and then regret their decision later on. With that being said, thank you so much for watching, and I'm going to be seeing you in another video. Take care.